Now it's time. Time to get your mind moving, reach for your dreams, and find happiness and success in your life. Welcome to The Mindset Man. And here is your host, the Mindset Man himself, Todd Radis.
Welcome to the broadcast of The Mindset Man with Todd Radis. And I've got two incredible people here with me today, Craig and Jenny D. They are international wellness experts and two of the most positive people I've met in the last 10 years. They're amazing to be around, and I'm really pleased to have them and honored that they took the time out of their busy schedule to come on and talk to you. So I highly recommend you listen to these two people because they can change your lives. Craig, Jenny, thank you so much for coming on today. How are you doing?
Hey, Todd, we're great. How are you?
Doing awesome, man. Thank you very much for having us on here.
Oh, you're more than welcome. I'm fantastic because I have you two on the show, so it doesn't get any better.
Right.
So as you know, this is a new show. We kind of discussed it a little bit before you came on. The premise of the show is to help people change their mindsets. So we'll just dive right in because I know you guys are always ready to go from the get-go. What I've been talking to most of the people who've come on about right now is what were some of those first major mindset shifts that you had that changed your lives to end up where you're at now, and kind of bleed that into where you are now, what kind of business you're running and how you're helping people. So why don't we go ahead and start with you, Craig?
All right. That sounds good, Todd. Wow. So a couple of things. I mean, so I'll dovetail a little bit into what you'd said, what we're doing and how, and basically why that happened for us. And we do international retreats all around the world. And we coach people all around the world. We help people live in their vitality. We bring out their greatness so they can have the biggest health and wealth that they possibly can in their lives. And I have, as an example, I've always been, if you know me, since a young kid, I've always been optimistic. I've always been like, my water's overflowing over the glass. But I realized that just being optimistic wasn't and isn't the end all be all. It was actually putting those little pieces together. It was like a puzzle, Todd, where, I was trying to put all these little different pieces together. And, you've probably put a jigsaw puzzle together before. Most of your listeners have. And most people don't understand that the most important piece of the puzzle is the box top. And they always think it's the sides or the corners. And those are very important. And most people, including myself, had those together. And I was putting those pieces in the middle. And that becomes a little bit more complicated as you're trying to pick a piece up, turn it, look at it, twist it. You put it down, you keep on doing that. And I realized that with all my optimism, I couldn't complete my vision as well as I wanted to. Because I didn't have the proper mindset to put it all together. And that was the big thing.
That was a big thing, was getting that box around and creating those external foundations to, I guess it would be kind of keep that optimism in focus.
That's right. It is. It was about being real. About what was going on and not just thinking, that I can accomplish everything. I still feel I can accomplish everything, but I understand where my thought patterns are coming from, where my limited beliefs were coming from. There were many things in my limited beliefs that I didn't even understand that I had until I actually got a mindset coach. And whenever Jenny, she started working with a mindset coach first. And then I said, oh man, after those results, I've got to start working with a mindset coach. And so we continually, religiously, once a month, we are always on a call with one of our mindset coaches to keep us on track.
I do the exact same thing. I'm on the phone with Larry, and if I get in a rut, I'm down with Larry.
Hey, that's exactly right.
You guys know Larry, and yep. He is huge on limited beliefs. Mm-hmm. And, that was how he got me to write my book and help me launch my whole coaching business. He just looked at me and said, stop believing you can't and start knowing you can, and get rid of this limiting belief that your book's not going to be any good.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it was that's just confidence boost. So, you're right. You need these coaches in your lives and these external forces to help you stay focused. I couldn't agree with you more, because if it wasn't for people like you and people like Larry in my life, I wouldn't be where I am right now.
Well,
And I mean,
that's
you don't
exactly
even,
right.
yeah, you guys don't even coach me, but it's just the influence of being around you and being around the people. I've attended one of your events, which was amazing. And I highly recommend, if you're out there listening, to look these two up and attend one of their events. You need to go see these two in action. So how about you, Jenny? What was your big change? Craig and I agree. Limited beliefs were definitely something I was struggling with.
Oh, absolutely. Well, sometimes I think, Todd, that people think that mindset is kind of an entity in and of itself. But the reality is that our mind is controlling every aspect of our lives. And that's really where my entire story started, because I was very, very sick for a long time. And the doctors couldn't find anything wrong with me. And it was so odd, because most of the time we think if we're eating well and if we're exercising, taking great care of our body, that we're going to be healthy. But what most people don't understand is your mind can make you very, very sick, even if you're physically taking care of your body, exercising on a regular basis, and eating well. So I was doing all the right things when it came to caring for my body, other than my mind was making me very sick. And this is where we got introduced to mindset work, because I went to a retreat out in California, and I was shocked when they said, look, we can heal you when you get out here nutritionally, physically. We'll cleanse your body, we'll heal you. But if you don't work on your mind, you're going to go home and be sick all over again. And so that's when our journey with mindset work started. And it was literally, it began to heal my body, not to take my business to a new level. We didn't even have a business back then, right? It was for no other purpose than healing my body. But this was the interesting part. Not only did my body heal, but our marriage healed, my relationship with my children got better and deeper and stronger, more forgiving, so we all understood each other better. I started to have all these amazing ideas around what a business could be, how I could help other people's lives. I saw a bigger version of myself that I never knew existed. And when all of that comes together, now life becomes the journey that you want to start living, instead of just waking up and making it through from day to day. And so I live by one saying, and that is this: my life is a perfect example of synchronicity and flow. My mindset coach told me that years ago, and I still live by it every day. Because if you think about it, we will all have good times in our life and we'll all have bad times. You can't avoid that. No matter how perfectly you're doing everything, you're still going to hit bumps in the road. And what we need to know is that the good times we should enjoy fully for everything that they are. Right? Take it in with every sense that we have, so that we can embrace that and create this magical, amazing memory that we never want to lose. And then in the bad times, the best thing I can advise people to do is, instead of saying, woe is me, and feeling bad for yourself that you're having it, look at it, take a step back from it, look at it and go, what do I need to learn from this situation?
Now, I know that recently you posted some pictures of you, and you mentioned that these were pictures of you back when you were unhealthy.
Yeah.
But if you saw a picture of you, I mean, you were this cut little athletic thing. But now that I know you, you tell us, yeah, but I was physically ill and unhappy and miserable. But I was perfect as far as I could get in the gym.
Yeah. I was in that gym 6 hours a day, Todd.
Wow.
I was eating clean as clean could be. I mean, all vegetables, little bit of fruits, but just no dairy, very few meats of any sort, just clean as could be. And other guys in the gym that were trainers, some that worked actually for the women's football league, they wanted me to come actually play for the women's football league in Philadelphia. And he's like, I can get you into bodybuilding competitions. I mean, you're just so, people looked at me from the outside and said, wow, that's, perfection, if you will, in certain ways. And yet what nobody could see was how broken I was on the inside. And the reason I was actually so cut is because my body was dropping weight uncontrollably at that point.
Oh, okay.
Over the period of a course of months, I actually lost like 30 pounds uncontrollably. I was trying to stop it. I was actually trying to stop the weight loss. And it was the lightest I had ever been in my adult life. And my body even started eating its own muscle away because I was so unhealthy and so stressed out that my body was just eating itself alive.
Yeah, when you're in trouble when your body goes for the muscle and the bone.
Yeah.
You know that's when you're in trouble. You're way past unhealthy at that point.
Yep,
your body
exactly.
naturally goes after the fat first, that's what it wants to use. But yeah, you
Yeah.
get the muscle and bone. And it's amazing to me because I've met you since your transition, and I could never imagine you that broken personally.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're so open, and both of you share so much, and that vulnerability also is huge. Like,
Yeah.
I just started sharing my past in the past couple of years, telling people about my times 9 years straight of depression.
Yeah.
And being almost 300 pounds, and matter of fact, I'm
And
probably
look
going to
at you
be
now.
higher. Well, I'm better. I still got 40 to go. I've been trying to lose it since fall, but I keep giving myself mental excuses. And being a mindset coach, I know it's my fault. When I'm not successful, it comes down to the way I'm thinking about what I'm doing. And quite frankly, I just didn't focus on those things. And I was telling Cynthia Murphy, mutual friends of ours,
Mm-hmm.
just the other day, I said, I'm going to have to hire Craig to just somebody to get there and just keep me focused where I need to be focused, because it's going to help me out, because I've got this goal to get there, and I keep I'm having so much fun doing what I'm doing now. I'm out of balance.
Mm-hmm.
You know exactly what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. I'm
Yeah,
out
I
of
mean,
balance.
it's like we always try to keep ourselves in balance. I mean, we had created this device. Basically, I mean, it's a sheet. I call it a device, but it's because it functions like that, and it's called a success matrix, where we try to show clients in a circle 6 different parts of their world, and potentially how to balance they are. And the idea is that you think about it, you're like, oh, I want this perfect circle. I'm sorry to tell everybody that, but generally we're not going to have a perfect circle out there. What we are going to be doing is we're going to try to get those areas that are on the lower end and increase those. And if you're ever at a 10, that generally means that you've stopped learning in that area. You always have to be an 8 or a 9, because once you become a 10, you think you've become that 10. All of a sudden you stop learning, and then you become complacent, and you become an unconscious incompetent. And next thing you know, where are you? You're trying to figure other things out. So it is about balance, but it's about understanding some of your limitations and how to grow those areas.
And I would say about the ebb and flow, right, Todd? I mean, you were just saying, like, you were working on your health and your weight and all of these things, but now you've gotten so involved in your business, it's not your primary focus. And so this is what we see with that success matrix. We may get something out to an 8 or 9, but as our focus shifts and we work to grow something else, that 8 or 9 may come down a little bit because it's not our current focus. And that's okay, right? I mean, pardon my language, but balance is bullshit, right? People say, I want this balanced life. Balance, it really doesn't exist. It's about managing the different aspects and putting the focus where it needs to go at any given time, because life will ebb and flow. And, you talk about 9 years with depression, and I've had many years myself. And it's not like it goes away and then it never exists in your life anymore. It doesn't just disappear. It's something you always have to keep an eye on. And, being just completely transparent here, which I always am, we just, right before we got on the radio show with you, I had a call with one of our mindset coaches, because I'm going through, a little dip right now in my own personal journey, where I'm starting to see a few little health things crop up here and there, because all of us, I'm under a lot of stress right now. I will admit that stress levels are high. We have, over the next 2 months, we have a series of 6 different events that are going on that are going to keep us on the road and back to back and presenting and planning and preparing and helping all these other people. And it's amazing, but it's a very high stress level, right? So I've got to really focus right now on taking care of me to make sure that I stay healthy to get through that 2-month period of time where it's just going to be back to back. And so I want people to understand that it's not that you fix it and then things are perfect forever.
Oh,
Right?
definitely not. Yeah.
We're constantly evolving.
Yeah, that long term. I actually, at your last event, I had your wheel matrix. And I'm like, I'm not doing too bad. I'm actually pretty balanced right now. And then the book launched. And when the book launched, I can picture this matrix that you gave me in my head. And I'm like, yeah, these three are way up here right now. And then guess what? My plans to lose weight didn't happen.
Right?
So now I'm like, what do I need to do to get back to that? And Craig's name was the first one that came into my head, along with John Jubilee, but he just got married. So I think that man's gonna take a couple of months off.
Well, and so there you go. Perfect example of focus shifting, right?
Right.
So John deserves the ability to shift his focus right now to his personal life, his relationships. We've had that thriving relationships as part of the success matrix.
Right.
So right now, that's his focus, as it should be, because that's the season of his life. So our life goes through seasons, and everybody deserves to be able to shift that and adjust that. And it's interesting, just talking about the weight, I want to give you a quick example here as well. One of the things that's interesting about weight release is how much our mind has an impact on that. Because as you stepped out after our last event that you came to in late November,
right?
So the last event was late November that you attended. And then you went into this full-blown focus on launching the book and everything behind that, which is wonderful. What happens oftentimes when we step into something new like that, though, with a business venture is our subconscious mind is trying to protect itself because we're stepping into the unknown. So we actually, no matter what you are doing potentially to release weight from diet and exercise, you might still hold on to it during a period like that, because subconsciously your mind wants to protect your body. And it says, if I keep this weight on, I can ground you right here and I can protect you.
You know what? That's amazing that you say that, Jenny. It really is, because I cut my food intake to about a third of what I was eating and increased my fasting times from 12 to 16 hours a day and gained 3 pounds.
There you go.
Yep.
I'm
And
like, I should have ripped 10
it
pounds off in that period of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until you break through it mentally at a subconscious level, you can't break through it. We've had this, we see this over and over again.
We do. I mean, and it's a subconscious. I mean, we've all seen that picture of that iceberg where you know exactly what's underneath the water compared to what's on top. And what's underneath is that subconscious. That is the part that is controlling us compared to what we really see on the surface. And, you said it yourself. Jenny said it. I mean, I've said it in different times, is that, listen, we put on this facade, and it's not like we're trying to fake things. It's not like you're trying to fake it. She's trying to, it's just that whenever we're not in the best place, we don't sit there and just like, oh yeah, Todd, yeah, I can't really do this today, even though we're, we can't do that. We have to.
Yeah, we don't have that option.
We don't have the option. Nobody has that option in their corporate job and their entrepreneurial, wherever they're doing in their life. And so you always have to do it, but you've got to be working on yourself. And that way you're going to then grow. And, we had a master class here last week. And one of the things we talked about a lot, which this is what a lot of people don't do, and where we've learned to do, is this. You get yourself in a rut. And this is what a lot of listeners do. They get themselves in a rut and they keep on digging a hole, that shovel. They keep on digging and digging and digging and digging. And all of a sudden they look up and they're like, whoa, how far am I down? And what we've learned is when we start digging, to just stop, throw away the shovel, and take a look around and see in the world what's going on. And so we've become more aware of what is going on in our world, so we can throw the shovel down quickly. We can then assess what is happening so we can get ourselves out of the hole instead of keep on digging.
Right,
and that's one of the pieces that we find just a lot of people, they don't know they keep on digging because they feel very stuck.
Well, for me, one of the ways out is to, like Jenny said, she called her coach this morning, and that's to get a call with Larry or take the time to drive 2.5 hours down to his office for an hour meeting, because I will leave back where I want to be. and that deep subconsciousness. And I'm gonna tell you, I gained that 3 pounds over the holidays because I love working. I have to protect myself from being a workaholic.
Yeah.
That's why I dedicate the weekends to Catherine.
Mm-hmm.
When she's home, they're dedicated to her. If she's not here, I'll still work 16 hours a day because I just love what I'm doing.
Right.
But I'm throwing that wheel out of balance doing this, and I know it. And without her here, or without Larry or somebody to bounce off of, I will continue to do that. I know it's one of my own subconscious weaknesses. I love what I'm doing. I can get completely involved in it.
Right.
So, but with the weight loss, I had gained 3 pounds fasting. Then I started to lose it again. I lost it all back, and I'm balanced where I was when I started right now. But I was losing, and I stopped losing when I got the radio show.
Yeah.
Because you guys know what kind of work it takes in the backgrounds to get your first, 10 episodes ready for air.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you got it.
So here I am. Here I am, loving what I'm doing. And at the same time, I have to stop myself from beating myself up for not having released the weight that I want to release and not getting to where I want to go, because if I start blaming myself, I create that bad cycle of just self-blame and low self-worth.
So you got to throw that. That's why you got to throw the shovel away. You got to throw it away.
So that's your reference. That's like throwing that shovel away and just
right.
don't worry about that.
Exactly. It's like, and then take a look around, be like, hey, what in the world what's going on? What's going on? Take a few minutes just to think a little bit and understand where it's all coming from. But I'll do a funny little exercise, even though it's just listeners. I know they can do this. And that is, they just have to sit wherever they're at or stand wherever they're at. And I want them to cross their arms. And whenever they cross their arms, so one hand on one shoulder, one hand on the other shoulder, and then I want you to put them down, and then I want you to cross them again, but the opposite way. And whenever they do that, they're going to hesitate just a slight bit. And the reason I show that is that the first way is your unconscious. The first way is your subconscious. And the second way is your conscious mind.
I remember doing that with you at the last event. It was amazing because all of a sudden you click, wow, there was a totally different thought pattern between the two.
Yes. It was funny. And when I did it actually just last week, Craig was walking everybody through it at our masterclass here at the house last week. And I had to laugh at myself because the first time I did it, the second time when he said to cross the other way, I paused, I thought about it, I crossed them. And then I was like, they're still the same way they were the first time. Stopping and thinking, I couldn't override that subconscious pattern to cross them the other way. And it's just amazing how that works. And, going back to just the food for a minute, because I know that we're talking about mindset, but mindset really relates to how we're eating and drinking. And I think a lot of listeners will resonate with this. A lot of times, people don't understand why they can't stick to a healthy eating pattern. And I want them to understand that much of it is out of their control until they do the subconscious work. Because if we've had any sort of scarcity in our life when we were growing up as a child, or if we created an emotional pattern around food, all of these things can play into why we eat the way we do today. Yep. So it's very easy to say, well, I'm going to go on this other nutrition program for 15 days or 30 days. And they might stick to it that long, but then they go immediately back into their old patterns. And it's not sustainable for the long term. And I will take an example of scarcity. Let's say that somebody grew up in a household where finances were scarce, food was scarce, and so they never knew exactly when they were going to get all of these amazing things to eat, anything they could ever want. Well, as an adult, if we prevent ourselves from having that because we're going on a nutrition plan, as soon as that stops, we'll immediately go back to eating as much of anything that we want, even to the point sometimes of making ourselves physically sick. Have you ever eaten to the point that you just feel disgusting, like you literally could be sick, right?
Yes. Yeah. And when I weighed 300 pounds, I did it quite regularly.
Right. And people will do that because the power of having that food is more powerful than them feeling sick, right? Because they believe that it might not be there. And so you could be a millionaire today, Todd, right? You could be a multimillionaire and So realistically, all the food you could ever need is going to be there. But yet your subconscious mind still thinks that it might not be. So you have to eat it all while it's available because it might not be there tomorrow. It's almost like a stray animal and how they behave around food. You can't take in a stray animal and leave a bowl of food out all day long because the animal will literally eat itself sick. I had a cat that did this at one point, and we took it to the vet. The thing blew up like a Goodyear blimp. I mean, it was unbelievable. I've never seen an animal that was like normal size inflate to the size this cat inflated to. We took it to the vet and they took all these x-rays, and you literally could see whole pieces of food that started right at the top of the esophagus and went all the way out the back end of the cat, the whole stomach, all the intestines. Everything was filled with solid pieces of food that hadn't even been chewed because it ate so fast for fear that it wouldn't be there. Us as humans, we do the same thing. It's that stray animal mentality. The other example would be somebody that's built an emotional connection around food. So there's a story, actually, Jillian Michaels, the fitness expert, I'm sure everybody listening has heard of her.
Right.
She had an emotional connection with food because of her father. She was estranged from her father as a young girl, and the only memory that she had with him was sitting around eating junk food with him. So as she grew a little bit older and he was no longer there, the only way that she still had to connect emotionally with the man that was missing in her life was to eat junk food.
Wow, that makes good sense too.
Yeah, right. So that was how she emotionally connected with him, even though he wasn't there any longer. And we do the same thing in our own lives.
We're running out of time now. So why don't you two tell us how our listeners can get a hold of you and take part in your retreats or your events or where to see you at, what's your next upcoming event and so on.
There you go. Well, thanks a lot, Todd. And yeah, I mean, time just flies so fast, and especially when talking with you. It's like we could just sit here for hours, guys. So thank you again. But you can find us at Craig and Jenny D, and whether it's on any social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, our website, craigandjennyd.com. And then you can go in there and craigandjennyd.com/retreats. You can find out more about what we're doing at our retreats. Next one's coming up in San Diego, beginning of February. And then we're going over to Prague. And then we're coming back to the U.S. and we're doing it in Chicago. And that's going to be the first half of the year. And then we've got a couple master classes that are going to be going on in our home, which are very small and intimate. Because we listen, we love to help people. We love to see people change. We really help to see them rewire their thought patterns, because then they're subconscious and the cellular level. And when we start doing that, we see people change, and that is just one of the most gratifying things that can happen.
Well, it's the same for me. I love it when I'm helping somebody out, and the next thing you know, their whole life is better. Mm-hmm. And, it may not be where they want to be yet, but when you can see changes in people and how you positively affect them, that's the greatest reward in any of this for me. And I know it is for you guys too.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, we want to thank you again for coming out to the show today and getting on Zoom with me. And I want the listeners to know this. Look these two up. Follow them on Facebook. Follow them because they've got constant positivity flowing from them. They're amazing people to know. And if you ever get a chance to attend one of Craig and Jenny D's events, I'm telling you, don't pass it up. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thanks, Todd.
Thank you for listening to this broadcast of The Mindset Man. We greatly appreciate you have taken the time to be with us today. You will be what you believe you will be. You will find the show at toddradis.com or inspirednewsradio.com. Have a great day, and we will see you soon.